Hello YouTube friends, Ben Ochart here. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today I want to talk with you about 5 rare African cichlids that I have primarily in this tank here behind me. 5 of them that I consider to be relatively rare, and by rare what I mean is that you can't walk into your local fish store and expect to see this fish. Chances are you're not going to see it. And more than likely, if you want one of these fish, you're going to have to special order them by a provider somewhere in the country that can get that fish to you. So let's go ahead and get into it. 5 rare African cichlids that I currently own, plus 1 bonus fish that I also have in the tank behind me. Let's get going. So the fish that you're going to see today were provided to me by a channel sponsor called the Cichlid Shack in Tempe, Arizona. You might find these fish elsewhere. That just happens to be where I go for my African cichlids. And if you use code SHACKATTACK10, you'll get 10% discount on not just fish, but food and everything else available at my channel sponsor, the Cichlid Shack. So the first fish I want to talk with you about, and you know me, I always have notes. The first fish I want to talk with you about is called the Dimidochromis strigatus. This is a beautiful fish, and it's in that Dimidochromis line or family, which are usually long, elongated fish, and in this case, a fish that was extremely rare, very hard, almost impossible to find a while ago. Currently a bit more available. If you search on the internet, you can get a hold of one. They were formerly referred to as a Haplochromis sunset, and but you don't hear that name too often anymore. They like to hang out in shallow water, more shallow water. They're not necessarily a middle of the lake or deep open water swimmer, and they love to eat small fish and invertebrates. So they get a beautiful blue tinge to them and tend to be relatively peaceful. Certainly while breeding, they can get aggressive like most African cichlids, but for the most part, they just sort of hang around and swim around and don't get into it too much. The fish I'm going to be covering in this video, all of them are Lake Malawi or perhaps some adjacent bodies of water like the Shire River and places like that. You can see them on the map. Lake Malawi is just a very long rift lake in Africa. They like pH anywhere from 7.5 to 8.5. They'll do okay in those ranges. Very often these fish are locally or they've been bred in the hobby for a long time. So some of them are not necessarily living in a very high pH. Certainly check with who you buy your fish from to find out what kind of pH that they're running. The fish I'm going to show you, some of them are what are called F1. F1 simply means that they are the offspring of fish that were pulled directly from the lake. F1. So the strigatus can get up to about 9 or 10 inches. That's a good sized fish. So you're going to want to put that fish in a in a tank that is about 100 gallons, ideally around 5-6 feet or more in length. So it has the swim room to be comfortable. All right. And so again, all the fish I'm going to show you like hard water, 7.5 to 8.5 pH, and they should be given ample space, especially the ones I'm going to cover with you that get into the bigger sizes. The strigatus has been one of my favorites. I got one years ago from the Aquarium Fish Depot, and now I have another one, and I'm very anxious to watch him grow and color up. All the fish I'm going to cover with you now will eat a fish if it fits in their mouth. Just keep that in mind about almost all cichlids. If you put something in there that'll fit in their mouth, they'll eat it. So just keep that in mind. The next fish you hardly ever see, and I was very fortunate enough to get a hold of one, a Protomelas labridens. Protomelas labridens. This is a cousin of your Taiwan reef, right? Your VC10, your Imperial. There are other Protomelas out there, right? And this one is a They get out to about 7 inches, which is common for Protomelas. They can get pretty tall and thick of body. They can hold their own usually. Protomelas can usually hold their own with bigger haps, but they do require a little bit of vegetable in their diet, the Protomelas labridens. This one is, it can be found in shallow vegetated, usually found in shallow vegetated parts of the lake. It's funny because I've heard people say, well, you know, you have these plants in your tank. That's not what Lake Malawi looks like. It's all bare and bare. No, it's not true. There are patches in Lake Malawi that have, that has growth, and these fish, the Protomelas labridens, like to be in the shallow vegetated areas. They like to eat small snails, invertebrates, and they're usually found in the southern portion of Lake Malawi. A bit of a rare fish. I had not seen one until I got a hold of one. Now this next fish actually is becoming one of my all-time favorites just because of the sheer beauty of the fish. I'm talking about another Protomelas, in this case the Tanzania, what is sometimes called an insignis, a spilonotus Tanzania, often called an insignis. It is an open water fish. Again, a fish you want to have once they put on size, you want to put them in a 6-foot aquarium, give them a lot of open water swim space. They can reach they can be as big as 10 inches, one of your bigger Protomelas type fish. And it just a beautiful coloration between the body and the the belly color, and the beautiful markings on the dorsal. Just a gorgeous fish. Highly recommended if you can get a hold of one. Fourth fish on the list. Perhaps you've seen him from time to time on YouTube videos, often called a big spot hap. Obvious. Why? You just look at the fish, you can see it has a very big spot right in the middle of the body. Also referred to as a Otopharynx mapombo, and I guess there is an adjacent tributary or connected lake to Lake Malawi called Lake Mapombo. You can find that fish there. It gets up to 6 inches, and so it's not a massive fish, but I suspect it does put on some good bulk, so it probably would hold its own. Don't ever put it in a tank with bigger predator haps that can get it in its mouth. The next fish is one of my favorites just because it looks so unusual, and that is called the Malawi gar. The Malawi gar. In my tank, the Malawi gar I have is an F1. It is the offspring of fish that were pulled directly from the lake. This fish can get large. This fish can get 12 inches. So, in the aquarium, expect to see him 10 to 12 inches at maturity, puts on some beautiful colors, and has the very unusual habit of getting on its side to be able to get into cracks in rocks to eat one of its favorite delicacies, which is young mabuna. So it will flop 90 degrees to get to its prey. And so the Malawi gar, very unusually shaped, and when they color up, they're pretty wild looking. One of my favorite fish for sure. The last fish I want to share with you is also of that Dimidochromis family. This is your number 6, your bonus fish, also of the Dimidochromis family, and this is the kawingi. Now the kawingi, in my mind, is one of the most beautiful in this line of fish, and that is because of the coloration that is so distinct in almost every scale on its body. You get this beautiful coloration, which the camera doesn't really even do them justice. And they can get up to 13.5 inches. 13 inches, that's a big fish. So you're gonna want this fish in at least a 6-foot across aquarium, possibly bigger. All of the fish I've shown you today are gonna end up in a 210-gallon aquarium that I'm getting delivered by glass cages here in the Nashville, Tennessee area. The reason I don't have it now is because I've gone ahead and thrown them a curve and told them I want the tank drilled so I can put a Synergy, what they call, I think, a V2 or a shadow overflow box that uses what is called the bean animal overflow system, a very quiet way of moving water from the tank to a sump. all the fish you see in the aquariums behind me. Both these here, all of these fish, and the fish in the tank here are all going to go into that 210 gallon aquarium, and I hope to add a few more. And of course, there's a good number of fish I haven't covered with you, which will be on some future fish profiles. I have in here a living stone eye, I have a venusus, I have a trout that gets very large. These are the more common fish. I'm going to be covering them in future profile videos. Okay, if you have any comments about the fish that I've talked about, any questions, please go ahead and ask them below in the comments section. So please be sure to hit that sub button and the bell, and that tells YouTube that you are getting something of value out of the channel and encourages YouTube to share the channel with other fish keepers like you and me. Okay, and never forget that this is the only channel on YouTube that offers a 100% money back guarantee. All right, thank you so much, my friends. You're very appreciated. Hope to see you on Saturday for the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. We talk about a lot more than just cichlids, all about taking care of fish, filtration, substrate, lighting, water circulation, everything. All right, we get into it on Saturdays in a live format. Hope to see you there. All right, that's it for me. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.